Hello beautiful friends, happy new moon, happy build up to the new moon. We have a massive week this week, so much energy, some really incredibly auspicious dates that I'm going to tell you about that you can work with to create some really long-term success in various areas of your lives. Very exciting. The new moon is super powerful. There's some tension and some challenges in the build up. We're going to get into all of it. I'm going to hopefully run through all sun and rising signs to give you an idea about what this new moon is going to be seeding for you. But of course, before we begin, it is a beautiful day in Wurundjeri country, and I pay my deep respects to all Wurundjeri and Wurrung people of the Kulin Nations, all First Nations people. I'm speaking to you from Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung lands, and these lands were stolen, never ceded, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present, becoming, and to all First Nations people tuning in. Big love, big respect to all of you who are here. Now I just want to run through really quickly the sun and rising signs just to give you an idea of where this new moon might be activating things in your life, and perhaps what some of those initiating opportunities might look like, where they also might be falling in your chart. Aries, this new moon is really activating something in the realm of the self, self-love, self-worth, what you want to achieve and act on in order to realize your true dreams, the dreams that are in full integrity with your soul. There's an opportunity for healing here. We have the South Node is trining Mercury and Chiron in this realm of the self, and it is directly coming from the space of the beliefs that we've held. And the opportunity here is to kind of find a spiritual trajectory for those beliefs so that we can kind of transmute those negative stories that we've held about ourselves and come to a more conscious understanding of the truth of who we are and of who we're trying to be, and of being able to be fierce in our love for ourselves and for what we believe in and what we stand for, and generous in relation to our failings, as well as taking responsibility for them, because we also have Saturn trining Mercury and Chiron in the realm of the self. And Saturn is really helping us to get clear about what we need to do to shift those ideas and beliefs. And it's coming kind of from the realm of friendships and from communities and networks. So we may experience some challenges in those kind of broader relationships, in friendship circles or in the networks that we are associated with, that are really compelling us to get clear about a better sense of self-worth and really being at home in who we are. I think there have been a lot of challenges in 2021 so far to that sense of self-worth. And I know for myself, I'm an Aries rising, and I have experienced a kind of a fall in self-worth recently, and a doubt about what's possible and what I can do, and what's real and what's not in terms of those dreams. So this new moon is really providing an activation to get us back on track, to kind of, or to put us on the track of believing in ourselves and understanding that anything that goes wrong, anything that isn't immediately kind of turning out the way that we would really love it to, doesn't mean that it is destined to fail, and it doesn't mean that we're bad or wrong or not good enough. It just means that there's a process underway. So you also have Venus about to move into the second house, Aries, and that is really wonderful for money related issues and in relation to self-worth again. When Venus kind of moves in, this auspicious electional day is going to be a really fantastic day to kind of think about business proposals or business projects or abundance in your life in some shape or form, and that a really kind of exalted sense of self-worth. And of course you have, lots of Mars action in the third house of communication. So it's a really good week to be communicating, to be sending out communications that are anchored in that sense of self-worth and that sense of abundance being possible. Wonderful, Aries. Taurus, this new moon is happening in your 12th house, and the 12th house is the house of retreat and isolation. So you may feel the urge to take a step back and to kind of slip into a really quiet space to integrate and to seed these new possibilities of self-worth. You've been having a lot going on with Uranus in your first house of the self, and so this is a really great time to kind of, intentionally activate a rebirth. Of course, the 12th house is the realm of the womb. It is literally where we prepare for a birth. So there's healing potential in this new moon for you. There is self-worth potential, but it may require really looking deeply into the parts of our lives where we may have sabotaged ourselves. The 12th house also rules self-undoing. So with that Venus Pluto square, and of course the Pluto for you is occurring in the house, the 9th house of beliefs. So some belief needs to come crashing down now, and Venus for you is in your first, she is about to move into the first house for you on the 15th, but on the new moon she'll still be in the 12th house, which means that the new moon could feel quite intense. But it's a beautiful opportunity to get really clear about what beliefs you've been holding about your sense of self and about what you are allowed to have and do and be, and about what past patterns you may still be carrying with you, which are ready to go. They need to go. In order for you to have the abundance and the power and the potential that is your birthright, you must let go of those old beliefs. They will not serve you anymore. So that's actually very, very powerful. It may feel intense, but there is so much potential there. You are going to be getting some support, I would say, from Saturn in Aquarius in the 10th house. So again, you may feel the kind of the tension emerging from career situations that will be forcing you to look deeply into what your patterns are that are perhaps undoing for yourself, and what you want to seed in terms of a better way of being with yourself and of birthing a new potential in your life. Mars for you is in the 2nd house, so again there's this really powerful potential to take action in terms of work, in terms of abundance, in terms of self-worth, and to be able to communicate boundaries perhaps, because there's this healing dynamic, this healing interaction between Mars and Mercury and Chiron, and that suggests to me that there may be boundaries that need to be articulated, and there could be extra power to do that right now. And that's really important because the North Node is there with Gemini, and the North Node is being trined by Saturn. So there's this need to be kind of mature and disciplined about being clear about what you're worth, and that this is not okay. And maybe that just needs to be said in a clear and powerful and a compassionate way. I feel like there's a very strong potential for self-worth to be catalyzed through this experience, but it may be a little bit more intense. Also, you may experience some sadness, loss, nostalgia, confusion in the realm of friendships, because that's where you have Neptune, and Neptune is squaring Mars on Friday, and it will still be loosely squaring Mars into next week. So you may be saying goodbye to people, some people. You may be having experiences that do require you to articulate your boundaries, or that elevate your experiences in friendship to the next level. You may have some really beautiful spiritual kind of connections come in. You may need to also kind of resolve for yourself, some aspects of relationship at this time that will be very powerful in terms of being able to activate other things in your life. Everything is connected. When Venus moves on the 15th, on this auspicious election day, Venus moves into your first house, which is going to be absolutely beautiful for you, Taurus. You are going to feel a rejuvenated sense of self, of love, of self-worth, of wanting to be surrounded by beautiful things, of feeling that life's more beautiful and a little bit more easy, and I'm sure you need that. So that is going to be really, really a beautiful thing to look out for you, Taurus. Go easy on the new moon. Really allow yourself to be as gentle and as nourished as you possibly can as you plant the seeds of your intentions for this next cycle, and prepare for that auspicious election day on the 15th. When your first house is going to be highlighted. It's going to be really, really powerful. And your second house, so definitely some money or work related opportunities in there, but definitely give yourself some self-love, Taurus. Geminis, you have this new moon in your 11th house of friendships, networks, friendship circles, communities, society, markets, social justice, and you have Venus there, Chiron and Mercury, as well as the Sun and the Moon, which is really seeding ideas. What is it that you value most in the realms of friendships and networks and the people that you connect with? How do you want that to grow in such a way that it becomes healing, that you are able to communicate your true and authentic self in those relationships? These are all the possibilities that are being seeded now on this new moon for you. You have Mars in the first house, ruling the self. So the actions that you're being empowered to take now that Mercury and Mars are in mutual reception, are really going to allow you to take action that is profoundly beneficial for your sense of self-worth, for your identity, or your relationship to the world, how people see you. And you may experience some great help and support from your friendship circles in really helping to boost this sense of being able to take action, of creating opportunities for you to take action. You have the square from your 10th house, so Neptune is in the 10th house, so there may be some confusions or miscommunications perhaps in the realm of career or of where you're showing up sort of most strongly in your life. That tension between Neptune and Mars will feel strongest today, but you will continue to feel it into next week. It's motivating, it's action motivating though, so make sure you double check all the information that is coming into you, or anything that you're sending out. For example, it's really important in terms of how you are understanding the scenarios at play, because that might help to just kind of prevent miscommunications that are unnecessary, for example. You are also having the sextile from Saturn to Chiron and Mercury, and the sextile to the South Node from the 9th house of beliefs. So you are, again, this is the continuing theme, wanting to be disciplined and mature about what you immediately believe about the scenarios that are showing up, and that may affect these kinds of miscommunications or confusions that may be occurring in career, but also in terms of friendships. Being able to understand that maybe what you think is happening is not actually what's happening, and the beliefs that are being triggered are going to be very, very healing, because once you see what they are, you can identify them and then apply this kind of perceptual process, listening to your friends, listening to the people who you're interacting with at that kind of community level, to understand how those beliefs need to be shifted in order to illuminate a greater sense of self-worth, to strengthen and fortify a greater sense of self-worth and integrity in oneself. It also suggests that there's a really wonderful opportunity to connect with friends and to have a really playful, gorgeous, wonderful time with friends right now, especially around the new moon. So plant a seed, maybe do a little new moon kind of get together with your friends and voice your intentions out loud. That would be very, very powerful for you, because you do have Mars in the first house. really activating action in relation to the self and in relation to your relationship with others. So that sounds really wonderful. On the 15th, Venus will move into your 12th house. So this kind of suggests that there may be an opportunity to bring some beauty and love into very intimate, close relationships, into the home, and perhaps just to your sense of self, and where you find solace within yourself and away from others. And it also may be a very strong seeding time. What are you wanting to gestate, that might take a little bit longer to gestate, to grow, because it's occurring in the 12th house. So this is this kind of growth process, the pre-birth process. And this is where a lot of change has been occurring for you already, Geminis, because you have Uranus in the 12th house. So something at that deep, deep bedrock level is being transformed. And again, this comes back to our, the tendencies we have for self-undoing, for self-sabotage. So Venus may help you understand better what is in the way of that full self-love, what kind of patterns are in play that are preventing you from being able to kind of grow the best produce from the material that you have in your life and in your nature. And of course, Venus is going to touch Uranus eventually, and this will bring some really potentially profound breakthroughs and insights in this realm of self-undoing or of what you're growing. It's also a beautiful aspect for writing. I always find that people who have strong 12th house placements have great writing potential. And with Venus, who rules the arts, moving into your 12th house, Gemini, and Gemini, you're a sign of the mind and of ideas, you might want to do some writing projects over this new moon, and perhaps these the project that you're wanting to put into motion on this auspicious election day of the 15th, this may also involve some writing, and that could be very, very well starred for you as well. So best of luck with that, my Gemini friends. Cancers, you have this new moon in your 10th house. So there's this really powerful, activated, fully energized beginning happening in the realm of career, profession, how you show up in the world so that everyone sees you. It's the top of the chart, so it's like where everyone is seeing you. So you have this brand new beginning in Aries, which is such an activated and powerful and energized sign. The new moons are seeding points, so you want to think about what are you trying to grow in the realm of career, and what do you value most about your career and about showing up, like how you're seen in the world. How do you want to be seen in the world? What do you care about most? Venus is really guiding these rules and being assertive about, what you value and standing up for what you value, because Venus in Aries is such a fierce aspect of the goddess. We also have Mercury and Chiron in your career house. So there is this potential to communicate in such a way that allows you to teach perhaps others, or to heal something that requires some healing right now. And that is getting support from the sextile to Saturn, which is in your 8th house. So something's being transformed here. Some obstacle perhaps, or series of obstacles or limitations is in the process of being transformed. But the 8th house also represents other people's stuff. So we may be experiencing those challenges coming from other people and the things that we're having to deal with in relation to other people's behavior, scenarios, their money, etc. And the 8th house can be really challenging as well. And of course, Saturn is a challenging planet. So any obstacles that are coming in that are feeling really difficult, they're nonetheless creating a very, very creative and productive opportunity to really give something momentum in the realm of career, to start something that will have great momentum. You have the Saturn is also sextiling the South Node in your 6th house. So again, you may be experiencing some health issues that are coming up, and it seems that those health issues are really connected to beliefs that you have that are outdated, that you need to let go of. And Saturn is going to help you, and the more, of course, that we actively apply ourselves to those higher intentions of these planetary archetypes, the easier things go for us. If we don't say, okay, how can I be disciplined about changing my beliefs in relation to my health? Maybe my beliefs are causing me such intense stress levels that I'm making myself ill. I'm getting headaches, or I can't sleep at night, or whatever the thing is. My beliefs are the issue there. So I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to practice 10 minutes of meditation in the morning, or 10 minutes at night before I go to bed. If we don't apply that kind of Saturnian discipline, Geminis, then Saturn brings the obstacles to us. And in the 8th house, those obstacles can be a bit more intense, because the 8th house is the house of death and transformation and other people's stuff. So dealing with stuff coming from other people, it's much more challenging. If we actively choose to do that kind of work, dealing with the stresses that we are experiencing with other people and taking proactive measures to support ourselves. Sorry, Cancer, I called you Gemini before. Taking proactive measures to support ourselves and what we need right now will have a really powerful kind of release, because there are so many positive aspects being made to the South Node. And the South Node is the node of decrease, of elimination, of removal and relinquishment. So we can relinquish some health issues that have been really niggling and nagging and problematic if we apply that Saturnian discipline. What do we know that we need to do? You also will have this auspicious election day affecting your house of career, your friendships and networks, and your 12th house of retreat. So you may find some opportunities coming to you from friendships, with Venus moving into the 11th house for you, Cancers. You may have some this may create some opportunities to create some fantastic business ventures, and to kind of retreat and do some writing, perhaps. Maybe, you know, one of these opportunities that you're wanting to seed for yourself on this auspicious day involves some writing, because you have Gemini in the 12th house. Yeah, but I would say that there's very strong kind of career-related opportunities that you could seed on this election day. But the same with friendships, and the same with really taking action to transform and evolve some old patterns that are going to be able to be rebirthed to create something brand new and beautiful in your relationship to yourself. So that all looks really good for you, I think, Cancer. Make sure you do pay attention to how the beliefs that you're holding at the moment might be causing you ill health. You have the North Node in the 12th house, so that's saying it's a really good time to take some time to yourself and really look at all the facts. You know, what is causing you distress? What are the facts and the elements that are at play here? Don't rely immediately on what you automatically assume is going on here. Dig a little bit deeper, and you'll have extra power in being able to see what's going on here. So I look forward to seeing what magic projects you come up with, Cancers. Best of luck. Leo, you are ruled by the sun, and the sun is exalted in Aries, and it is in your 9th house. So this new moon could be quite a spiritual feeling new moon, or it may activate opportunities for higher learning, for study. The 9th house is the house of God, so it's a really beautiful place to have this new moon. It connects you to higher consciousness and to the higher potential that you are able to communicate to, or teach to, or experience. It is also, Leo is on the ascendant for the auspicious date, the auspicious election date on the 15th, and this gives a really beautiful, fiery energy to, divine tasks, divine opportunities. So it should be especially beautiful for you, I would say, Aries, Leo. And you want to think about what it is that you want to grow in the realm of higher learning, of expansion, of adventure, of long distance travel, of different cultures, and of divine beliefs, philosophy, ideas. All of these things are being very strongly activated with this new moon, and especially with Mercury there and Chiron and Venus. You want to think about what it is that you value most in terms of those things, and really allow yourself to dream big and to plant some really big and bold, robust, delicious seeds there. With the auspicious election date, you know, that is with Leo on the ascendant, as I mentioned, and so that places Venus in your 10th house. So there's a really powerful opportunity for seeding successful projects in career. Also, there are very positive aspects to friends and friendship circles and networks to take action that is kind of moving you towards your destiny in terms of whatever you're seeding now around this election date. You have Neptune in the 8th house, and that means that you may well experience there may be some tension in friendships and relationships that are arising from confusions and miscommunications in relation to other people's stuff, other people's experiences, or being kind of at the mercy of other people's stuff to some degree and not being able to see it clearly, feeling confused, or we may even feel subject to illusions and delusions about things that are happening. So you may think that people are doing something when it may be something else. We want to be really careful of that. There's a square happening between Neptune and Mars for you. But you are also having some beautiful sextile energy from the 7th house. So Saturn is in your 7th house. So Saturn is asking you to bring, you know, higher levels of maturity and discipline and rigor to the way that you are in relationships. And Saturn is trining your North Node in the 11th house of friendships as well. So you may want to think about where you want your friendships to go and how you can bring a new kind of some adjustments to your routines, to the disciplines that you bring to what you offer in friendship or what you want to receive in friendship. And that is going to be very, very positive. The other thing that I have forgotten to mention, all the other readings, is that Jupiter is applying to a sextile to Mars, and Jupiter is in your house of relationships. So this is very, very positive. You may experience a real sense of expansion in important relationships in your life, or you may even come into a romance because it is trining Mars in the house of friendships and networks. So you may actually meet somebody through friendships or networks or through internet dating. That is also definitely started because Mars is in Gemini, and for you particularly, Gemini is in your 11th house of social networks. So Jupiter is really kind of amping up the potential for new romance if you happen to be single, or to enhancing and amplifying the beauty and the deliciousness of your current relationship. So that is very exciting for you, Leos. And I hope that you do get some of that delicious stuff. One thing that's worth mentioning is that the South Node, which is really very strongly kind of being activated by aspects as well, it is sesqui square to Venus, and it is in your 5th house. So in matters relating to children, you may have some tense experiences coming up in relation to your children, or in relation to risks, gambling, taking financial risks. So there may be some stresses in those kinds of areas. Also in relation to sex and pleasure, there may be some stresses there, but you may be able to alleviate them by really considering what your beliefs are around those things and how they may actually be inaccurate. Because the North Node is in Sagittarius, the South Node is in Sagittarius, we really need to check our beliefs. Whatever belief we have about something, especially when it's a difficult, stressful kind of idea, chances are it's not true, and it's the thing that's getting us into trouble. So we really want to question our beliefs wherever possible. So for you, that comes into the realm of creativity, children, sex, gambling, games, risk-taking, etc. So yeah, have a think about if you're having tensions in any of those areas, what beliefs you currently hold about those things and how they may need to be adjusted, how you might need to assess the facts to get a little bit clearer of a sense of what's really going on there. So best of luck for you, Leos. Virgo, you have this new moon activating your 8th house of transformation, of other people's money, of death, transformation and taxes, as they say. So there is an opportunity to seed something now that may relate to a total transformation in your life. Or perhaps you might be applying for some funding, for example. This could be a very auspicious time to seed an idea that is going to grow with the help of other people's resources. The 8th house is other people's resources. It may also create an opportunity to really heal something deep that relates to a trauma that involves other people's stuff, or things that you've had to experience or endure that have come from scenarios involving other people and their unresolved karma. So there is this really powerful potential in this new moon to heal. You might want to write down what you're wanting to transform in your life, what you're wanting to grow, how you want to benefit from other people's resources. And when we also have Saturn sextiling Mercury and Chiron in your 8th house, and Saturn is in the 6th house of health and work. So you may experience some restrictions coming in relation to your work life, some obstacles and challenges in that area that are creating more opportunities for transformation in this area that will allow you to experience more abundance. So you want to pay attention to what kinds of obstacles are coming up in health or work, and in terms of how you are being of service in the world, and see where that transformation might be able to be activated. What seeds you can plant to really take that into the next level that will allow a great sense of abundance. We also have Jupiter in the 6th house of health and work, which is trining Mars, approaching a trine to Mars in your 10th house of career. So Jupiter in your 6th house is wanting to expand things. You may be working really hard, but there's also an opportunity to really cultivate a new opportunity in career. Mars is able to take action. It's got mutual reception with Mercury in your 8th house, so something that you're able to clarify in communication with other people will allow you to generate a really abundant opportunity in the realm of career and work or health. But definitely it seems like work is very strongly indicated. The South Node for you is in the 4th house. So that's the house of family and the home. So you may experience some challenges there. Saturn's also sextiling the South Node. So you may experience some challenges in family. And once again, you really want to look at what your beliefs are. What are the beliefs that are causing distress about any situation that's arising in the home or that's arising in the context of family or property, real estate, etc. What is the belief that you are holding about this situation, and consider the possibility that it's not true. Go back to the facts. Really look at all of the available facts that are evident and clearly able to be seen, because Mars and the North Node are in Gemini in your 10th house, so they're all available. The facts are available. So have a look at those before making any clear kind of judgments about what's going on in the context of family or home. You will have on the auspicious election day Venus and the Moon in your 9th house, the house of God, activating like a beautiful kind of spiritual, philosophical, higher learning connection to adventure and the world. So that is really beautiful. It also rules writing and publishing projects. So you might have the opportunity to really communicate something at a very powerful level with this electional astrology on the 15th. That allows you to generate big opportunities in career, in terms of funding potentially, or in other people's money. One thing you do need to be careful of as well is that you have Neptune in the 7th house. So your relationships are maybe under a little bit more stress. You need to be a little bit more careful about the automatic beliefs you jump to when certain scenarios emerge. And because this new moon is in your 8th house, you may be dealing with other people's stuff, with scenarios. So be very careful about coming to judgments about what's going on without very, very clearly analysing the facts. Really looking at all the data and looking at things from the other person's point of view. This is really important because that's where the North Node is in Gemini, 2 points of view. Generally speaking, we're all going to be having this experience potentially of having to do things twice. So we may look at the situation in one way and then pull back and realise that, okay, maybe they were coming from this angle. Maybe this is what they were feeling. Maybe this is what's happening for them. What is happening for them? What would they be feeling? You know, asking ourselves those kinds of questions will be really, really helpful in the context of relationships. So yeah, lots of career and learning and communication opportunity for you in this new moon activation and this beautiful electional astrology for next week, Virgos. Libra, you have this new moon in your 7th house of relationships, so there's amazing possibility to initiate a new beginning in the context of relationships, especially the kinds of relationships that serve the integrity of who you really are, because Libra is on the axis with Aries. So self and relationship are being mirrored here very strongly for you. You are 1st house Libra, which is sense of self, and relationships for you are the relationship with the other and the importance of being in true integrity with who you are and of being able to acknowledge and recognize the integrity of who the other is as well. And there's some real healing potential in this, as well as like heightened communication potential. We have Saturn sextiling those planets, Mercury and Chiron, coming from your 5th house of children, of pleasure, creativity, sex, risk-taking and gambling. So that suggests that Saturn is a planet of restrictions and obstacles and kind of challenges and trials and tribulations. So you may experience some challenges coming from these areas, something relating to children impacting relationships, for example, or investments, risk-taking investments, those kinds of things. But because that sextile is so productive, it's of the nature of Venus, there's really the potential for, those obstacles to generate a new possibility in the context of relationship. The 5th house is also pleasure. So sometimes, that might mean that Saturn is preventing the full flow of pleasures. But again, with that sextile, it's kind of information that comes in. If that's the case, it's saying to us, okay, what needs to be adjusted in relationship? What needs to be planted in this relationship context that's going to allow me to experience like greater joy, abundance, self-worth, full self-expression, that the two people who are relating feel fully expressed, feel fully seen, feel loved within and without. So that's very, very beautiful. For you, the auspicious election date will occur when the moon and Venus are in your 8th house. So this is really interesting. Of course, the 8th house represents other people's money, other people's karmic stuff, karmic entanglements, the painful experiences we have suffered in the past that are the grist for the mill of our transformation. So the 8th house is about transformation. So there's this possibility for you to really kind of generate a new kind of project or put out for something that might require support from other people or healing of past experiences that allow you to totally transform in the context of relationships. Or which allow you to, literally draw on other people's resources to achieve something that's important to you. But yes, it does look very relationship oriented for you. You also have Pluto in the 4th house of family, and Pluto is squaring Venus on the new moon. which suggests that the tension that you may experience in relationships is coming from family context, with that fifth house, Saturn in the fifth house, and Jupiter in the fifth house. So Jupiter is bringing abundance and growth to the realm of pleasure and creativity in children. But Saturn is bringing some obstacles, but in a positive way because it's sextiling. Nonetheless, you know, Pluto is challenging, but it is bringing things to the surface in order to be seen and transformed. So this is very, very powerful. You have Mars, which is trined by Jupiter in your house of God, the ninth house of religion, spirituality, philosophy, higher ideas, foreign travel, you know, adventures, long distance adventures and travels, or just diverse cultures. And so Mars is wanting to take action in higher levels of thinking and growth and learning. And Jupiter is saying that there will be, you know, some real pleasure and creativity and opportunity and joy in those things for you in taking action on those things. The ninth house can also represent publishing, so you might want to kind of publish your creative endeavors. That would be very well starred for this electional astrology as well. But yes, all up, a very strong relationship initiating cycle, and definitely a very creative one of ideas. You need to be careful of your communication because you have the South Node in the third house, and the South Node is being strongly aspected by, you know, by Saturn and by, you know, the Aries planets. So there may be some tricky areas with siblings, for example, maybe some tricky communications. You want to be checking what you are believing, what your automatic assumptions are about the situation, and check them against the facts. Like what's the data here? What's actually going on? And also, you know, just kind of balancing it out by considering the other person's experience and their perspective. Like what would it look like from their point of view? That could help as well to kind of smooth over any kind of tricky areas that seem to be indicated for you in terms of family and relationships. But so many positive resources look like they could come out of these dynamics. So best of luck for you, beautiful Libras. Scorpios, you have this new moon occurring in your sixth house of work and health. So there is a new beginning for you in the realms of health or work or service. What do you want that to be? This is very exciting. You can really plant a new seed now that is going to be very healing and that is going to kind of give you a new energized sense of vitality and motivation and potential to act on your desires to make something new here. You have Saturn and Jupiter in your fourth house of family. So Saturn is sextiling Mercury and Chiron in your house of health and work. So there could be some sort of challenging little obstacles that might come, but they're not too challenging because it's a sextile aspect coming from family scenarios that are going to help you to plant these new seeds in terms of your health and work life. Jupiter is trining Mars, which is in your eighth house. So some opportunity, very, very fortunate opportunity that emerges through the context of home or family is going to help you to transform something important in the realm of your karmic entanglements or in the context of other people's money relating to business potentially. Or in terms of something that you might need to communicate that relates to a trauma from the past. Sharing this with family perhaps, or finding opportunities and challenges and triggers that help you to bring this to the surface to be communicated. Very, very powerful. And when this auspicious electional day occurs on the 15th of April, Venus and the moon will both be in your seventh house. And this is just gorgeous. You might want to have like a feast of love with your lover on that day. Things will feel a lot lighter in the context of your relationships. You might want to plant some seeds for how you want your relationships to grow over this coming cycle. Like, what do you want to initiate in the realm of relating, in the realm of your dearest relationships. Very, very auspicious moment to seed something of that nature at this time. And yeah, what do you want to transform? What do you want to draw on from your relationships? What do you want to give in your relationships? How do you want to experience them? What are the intentions that you can plant around these kinds of themes? You also have Neptune in your 5th house, which rules children, creativity, risk-taking, play, games, pleasure. And Neptune, you know, is wonderful in that placement for pleasure, daydreaming, creativity, artistry. You know, Neptune is the visionary planet of imagination, fantasy. So that's wonderfully aspected for any of those kind of creative, beautiful, languid, pleasurable activities. Where it relates to children, it may indicate that you have there may be some tendencies to get trapped in illusions of thinking about what's going on with your children potentially, or what the truth is about a situation. There may be some lack of clarity there, and that is squaring Mars in your 8th house. So that is something that needs to transform. Any ideas that you might have that are not actually clear or true, there's a potential to transform them now by really focusing on the data, really focusing on the other person's perspective. That's crucial now. Being curious. Neptune is the higher consciousness, the planet of higher consciousness and higher octave of love. So it really rules compassion and forgiveness and sort of cosmic awareness. So if you do feel confused or in maybe a suspicious state around the motivations of children, or around the ability to experience pleasure, etc., there is a really strong potential to transform that by really looking at other people's perspectives beyond your own, like what it might look like from different angles and what the facts are actually saying about a particular scenario, that can really help to shift anything that has been stuck karmically in the past, that will allow you to experience greater joy and pleasure, and beauty in your relationships. And there's a lot of change going on for you in the realm of relationships this year, Scorpio. So it's big. It's really, really big for you. You are having Pluto is in your 3rd house, so there's a change in the structure of communication that's going to be really powerful in moving forward these kinds of dynamics. So yeah, plant your seeds for relationships and use that Neptune to be creative and pleasurable and beautiful. Sagittarius, you have this new moon happening in your 5th house. How delightful. The house of pleasure, of play, of creativity, of children, sex, risk-taking, gambling. Generally, it's, you know, the house of joy. So that's absolutely delicious. What do you want to plant in this realm? How do you want more pleasure? How do you want to feel that you're more kind of jubilant in your life? You may well just feel this automatically around this new moon, but you also have the power to plant some seeds of intention that are going to allow you to kind of expand this potential into your life moving forward. You have Mars in your 7th house in Gemini. So there is a strong activation in the realm of relationships that's being trined by Jupiter, which is in your 3rd house of communication. So getting really into communication there in the context of relationships is going to bring some great luck. Being able to put yourself in the other person's perspective, being able to kind of moderate your view of things, your kind of assumptions about what's going on, or your beliefs about a scenario, will be very, very fortunate and create some really great outcomes. The more you can put yourself in the other's perspective, the other's position. That's extremely important for you, Sagittarius, because you have the South Node in the 1st house. So there's a very strong tendency to be highly attached to the things that you automatically assume are going on about scenarios, particularly in relationships. And as is the case for all of us right now, you're more likely than not to be wrong about the things that you believe, because, you know, Sagittarius is where the South Node is. that may be heightened for you. So whatever you immediately assume is going on in the context of a relationship, check yourself, go back and go, okay, well, how might they be looking at this situation? What might it feel like from their point of view? That will bring you an enormous amount of good fortune because you have Jupiter trining Mars from your house of communication and data and information. And it's in the sign of Aquarius, which is, you know, the house of social justice, of like fairness. So the more you can put yourself into other people's positions and perspectives, the more good luck you will be able to generate from this dynamic. So that's really exciting for you, Sagittarius. Will take some work because obviously it's, you know, anyone with strong Sagittarian placements, including myself, you know, we have very strong views about things and they seem absolutely, completely, compellingly real and true, and no one can convince us otherwise without a great deal of effort. We can get a lot better at relinquishing that. And the best way of doing it is really by putting ourselves into the shoes of the other person and imagining what it would be like from another perspective, and things do look very, very different. So that's a really good thing to keep in mind. For the electional astrology on the 15th of April, you will have Venus and the Moon moving into your 6th house of work and service. That should hopefully make any kind of hard slog you've been doing in the context of work feel a lot easier and more beautiful. And you know, things are being shaken up in the realm of work and service and health for you because you already have Taurus there, and the Moon will hit Taurus and Venus will eventually hit Taurus. So you want to be thinking about, what do you really love? What do you really value in the context of work? And how can you bring a sense of love and self-worth to your health? What do you need to do to really kind of give yourself what you need? How do you need to amplify that kind of love and jubilance and beauty to really enhance your health and your well-being and your ability to serve without making it feel like slavery? Because Venus, you know, you're lucky to have the 6th house in Taurus, because it means that, you know, you probably are able to get a little bit more of a balance, not feel like a slave so much. And with Venus in your 6th house, that's really kind of amplified. So you also have, what else can I tell you? Oh, you have Neptune squaring Mars from your 4th house. So you may be more prone to illusions or delusions or suspicions coming from home and the family. And that is affecting your relationships because there's the square with Mars in the house of relationships. So it's really important for you to be double checking what you think is going on by looking at the data, looking at the facts, really thinking about what it might look like from the other person's point of view, because this is where the danger is. The opportunity is that Neptune rules compassion, forgiveness, and the highest forms of human love. So if you can do those things, like look at it from the other person's perspective, check your assumptions, check your beliefs, then you could have, I mean, just a divine relationship experience, especially with this new moon in your 5th house of pleasure and sex. So bingo, good luck for you, Sagittarius. Capricorn, you have this new moon in your 4th house of family. Very interesting. I wonder what you are planning to seed in the context of home, family, house, real estate. There is an opportunity to generate a whole new beginning in those contexts. So what do you want to plant there? You have the potential to heal something in this area because Mercury and Chiron are conjunct in Aries with the full moon. Venus is here, kind of asserting what she cares about and values most. The moon and the sun conjunct in Aries in the 4th house are creating a new sense of vitality in the home or in the context of family, a really motivated, energized, youthful, innocent expression of what you value and care about most in the context of home and family. Think about what seeds you want to plant there. You're getting some obstacles and challenges coming from a financial realm in the context of Saturn, who's in your 2nd house. But as I've said, Saturn is making a really lovely and productive sextile to the new moon, or to Mercury and Chiron in particular. And so any challenges and obstacles that are coming from a financial area or from a self-worth area that might be impacting these home and family kind of scenarios will be overcome. They will actually be productive and will help you move forward in terms of whatever your intentions are. You're also experiencing the trine from Jupiter in that second house of self-worth and money, and it is trining Mars in your sixth house of work and health. So that suggests that there could be potentially some more work coming your way that brings in some more money, or a greater sense of self-worth that improves your well-being and your health. And that allows you to kind of calm down those thoughts that may have been causing you some turmoil about what's going on here. You do need to be careful of ideas that you're bringing to communication that might be obscured or involve illusions about what's going on, because you have Neptune in the second house, and Neptune is that foggy planet that kind of makes things a little bit unclear, can make us feel a bit suspicious about what's going on, make us feel afraid, and it is squaring Mars, which is in your sixth house. Now, having Mars in the sixth house is actually, that's the best place to have it, because the sixth house is the joy of Mars. It's a tricky house. It's a house of health and work, but also ill health and kind of slavish work. So with Neptune there in your third house, which rules business, communication, ideas, siblings, short distance travel, etc., be careful of communications in the context of work and what you are saying or what you're believing, what you're thinking about things, and how they might be misconstrued or just might be inaccurate and causing problems. That looks like you are able to generate something quite powerful from that, because Mars is in the house of its joy. So you can take action. The amelioration, the antidote to that sort of Neptunian potential for suspicion, conspiracy, etc., is to really, again, it's the same for all of us, to really kind of put ourselves in the perspective of the other we might be relating with in these contexts of like work or health, putting ourselves in the perspective of our best health, our best mind, because your sixth house is in the house of Gemini, which is, the mind, and your thoughts and your ideas and the way you talk to yourself. So this might be really activating for you the need to address how you talk to yourself, for example, and to create a more compassionate approach to thinking about yourself and relating to yourself. That's very powerful. You're having a square from Pluto in your first house to Venus in your fourth house. So there is a very strong process of transformation underway going for you at the level of the self. Something needs to be stripped away in order to create more beauty, more love in your closest, most intimate connections with family, with the self, in relation to your home base, in relation to your home. Something has to change in order to access the abundance of that Venus energy in the fourth house. With on the 15th of April, with this amazing electional astrology, you will have Venus and the moon move into your fifth house, which is just glorious and is going to give you such a delicious time. Oh my goodness, 15th and all next week should be absolutely lovely for you. Because, or especially from the 15th onwards, because Venus will be in her rulership in your fifth house, which is the house of pleasure. Venus rules pleasure. Taurus is the sign of pleasure. So, you might be having absolutely delicious romance or enjoying all kinds of gorgeous activities that just make you feel delighted. You may have beautiful connections with children. It could be a good time to invest in some ventures. Potentially you might want to seed a project that is going to generate money. That would be an excellent time. It's very well starred for you, financial activities around this auspicious election, because you have Saturn and Jupiter in the second house of money, and you have Venus and Uranus in the fifth house of kind of speculative investments, and you have Mars in the sixth house of work. So be cautious, but think about what you might want to set in motion that could generate some really positive incomes. With Saturn and Jupiter in your second house of money, there are restrictions and there are opportunities, and we're going to be feeling a bit of push and pull between the two of them all of April. But it looks really great for you, Capricorn. Best of luck. Aquarius, you have this new moon in your third house of communication, neighbors, siblings, short distance travel, kind of businessy kind of, business. Mercury and the third house rule business. And this is in the sign of Aries, which is so activated and energized. So you may feel like a real kind of renewed motivation, enthusiasm and energy in those kinds of contexts of like business ideas, connecting with colleagues and siblings and neighbors. And you want to think about what you'd like to plant in this part of your life. Like, what do you want to grow communication-wise? You have Mercury in this house, conjunct Chiron, so perhaps there's something that you need to communicate in this area that's going to lead to some healing or to a teaching moment even for that you can bring to others, for example. You have a sextile coming from your first house with Saturn sextiling Mercury and Chiron. So you may experience, some fears about self-worth or fears that are centered on the self, but they are going to productively activate that Mercury-Chiron conjunction. So if you are feeling self-doubt or fears about what's possible for you in life around this new moon, maybe do some journaling, because Mercury is ruling the third house for you at the moment. It's not ruling the third house, it's in mutual reception with Mars, but Mercury is closely associated with the third house and it's conjunct Chiron. So you might want to it would be very powerful for you to do some writing over this new moon. Write your intentions up to the new moon, write what you want to remove, what you want to eliminate from your life. You have Pluto in the 12th house, which is really kind of about these transmutation processes, these gestation processes, self-undoing, the ways in which the structures we have kind of gotten ourselves into in the course of our life in response often to trauma and to wounding, which is to our self-undoing. So we want to be looking at the patterns that we maybe fall into habitually that cause us problems, so that we can get clear about them and relinquish them and move into a much more empowered and empowering life. So journaling is an absolutely excellent thing for you to be doing right now, because it's so well starred for you and it is such an incredibly therapeutic tool for getting clear about what's going on. You also have Neptune in your second house, which rules self-worth as well as money and wealth and the wealth we derive from work, as well as the people who support us in life. So you may find some very sort of spiritually wise person coming into your world who can kind of give you a little bit of guidance, but you also need to be wary of the ideas that you believe about yourself, especially if they're really negative ones. They are, that's something that is going to be an impediment, and that's part of that thing that we're trying to undo and dissolve right now, those negative self-talk thoughts. Now you have the North Node in Gemini in the 5th house, along with Mars, and Mars is making a square to Neptune. I was just talking about. So Mars is square to Neptune in the 5th house. So that could generate some issues with children, for example, where our own self-worth can make us a little bit delusional about what our children are saying or thinking about us. We think they don't love us or something like that. That could be starred, but also this is a really beautiful aspect for being able to be really creative and derive enormous pleasure and visionary imagination in the realm of, you know, creativity and artistry, pleasure, joy, being able to kind of create some kind of like beautiful, joyous activity that involves a little bit of imagination, a little bit of creative thinking. That's really well starred as well. Really looking at all the options, thinking about what you want to do, and maybe having to do it twice. We're all going to be doing things twice with Mars in Gemini. But for you, you want to be focusing on like what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, what really activates your inner child, what makes you feel creative, what kind of risks could you take that are not crazy risks, but yeah, what risks do you want to take in life that are going to enrich your experience and your pathway forward? So as we have this electional astrology day on the 15th of April, you will have Venus and the moon move into your 4th house of family. So you should experience some really beautiful shifts in the context of home and family and the kind of the people who are most intimate to you in your life, and the place that you kind of retreat to that's like your real deep center. You should feel such a delicious sense of ease and relief as Venus moves into your house of family and home. Jupiter is trining Mars in your 5th house of pleasure and creativity, children, etc. And Jupiter is in your house of the self. So how do you want to expand? Who do you want to be? How big can you be in this world? Like, give yourself that. This is your birthright. Where are you potentially holding yourself back? How can you communicate at a level that is going to be in true integrity with your soul's purpose in this life? Allow it. There may be obstacles because Saturn is co-present with Jupiter in your 1st house. So those obstacles are kind of helping you to kind of get more rigorous about doing that. But, you know, what do you want to make bigger? Saturn will help you build towards it, but Jupiter is really kind of activating this potential to grow something bigger, and especially at a creative level or at a pleasure level, at a play level. Like, how do you want your life to be more pleasurable and more beautiful? This is really so lovely. The South Node for you is in the 11th house, so you want to be wary of any kind of beliefs or opinions or assumptions you have in the context of friendships, of social networks and of groups, or of being kind of carried away by social media kind of, my battery's running low, by social media beliefs and ideas. That's something that you do need to be careful of with the South Node there in the 11th house. And the antidote to that looks like it is the North Node in the 5th house, which is get off social media if you're feeling like it's playing with your head, or it's making you angry and upset, or confused and impacting your self-worth in a negative way. Go and be creative. It is so well starred for you with Mars there in Gemini, especially for writing, or any kind of communication practices. Really, really fabulous. So that's wonderful for you, Aquarius. Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 2nd house of work, finances, abundance, self-worth, material possessions. So there's this really kind of opening opportunity to plant some intentions around money, around what kind of material growth you want in your life, but also more importantly, and this is strongly activated because Neptune is in your 1st house and Saturn and Jupiter in your 12th house, how can you illuminate and expand on true self-worth? That is going to expand your abundance in all areas, of course. So with Neptune in the 1st house squaring Mars in your 4th house, we obviously, with a square, that's a tense aspect, so it can make things feel stressful. It can bring out some conflicts between family because Mars is in your 4th house of family and yourself, and they may relate to beliefs or illusions about what's going on, confusion, suspicions about what's happening. That's Neptune. But then also there's a potential that out of any tensions that are emerging in those areas, that we can come to a place of deep compassion, deep love and forgiveness. That's a real possibility here. Also because Mercury and Chiron are in your 2nd house of self-worth, so communicating something that can be healing. Maybe you need to say something, maybe you need to take some action, assert yourself in the context of family to say how you feel about something in a compassionate way, but in an assertive way. Mars is in Gemini, it rules communication. Mars and Mercury are in mutual reception, and Mercury is in your second house of self-worth. So maybe you do need to articulate some boundaries that are going to allow you to nourish better relationships with yourself and with those who are closest to you. We have a sextile to Mercury and Chiron coming from Saturn in your 12th house. So, you know, Saturn is where we're getting obstacles, limitations, challenges, but it's a sextile. So the sextile is a really productive aspect that is helping us to create something from this dynamic. And Saturn is in your 12th house, which rules isolation, retreat, kind of taking ourselves away from the world in order to go deep into our own psyche to kind of process what we need to transform, basically what we need to transmute. The 12th house is the house of self-undoing. So it's a place where we can also look at what our patterns are, what patterns we've established in the course of our lifetime, which is maybe undoing our best potentials. And getting really clear about that, Saturn is really fabulous in that place. Saturn is in its joy in the 12th house. So for you, this is really, really helpful. It's going to help you identify what those patterns are and how you can actually transform them. And this would be very powerful to do through writing and journaling because of that dynamic between the 12th house, which I associate with the house of writing, because you can't be writing and socializing at the same time. You have to retreat. And Mercury and Chiron, which are, you know, planets that rule journaling, I would suggest. You have the square, I've already talked about the square between Mars and Neptune. We also have the square between Pluto in your 11th house and Venus. So you may also experience some challenging scenarios in the context of friends or social networks or social media, things that are triggering in that dimension, which are connected to self-worth, or they're triggering something about self-worth, something that is deep, buried, maybe not fully acknowledged, something that needs to be a structure that needs to be removed in your life in order to establish something that is really healthy, really like full of self-worth and beauty, and that allows abundance and love and joy and connection in your relationships and in your relationship to yourself. So if anything triggering does occur for you in relation to social networks, social media, etc., bring it back, do some journaling, and really get clear about what that is and how it relates to a sense of self-worth and how you can bring love and generosity to yourself. On this electional astrology on the 15th, this electional astrology day on the 15th, Venus and the Moon will move into your 3rd house of communication. So again, there's a lot of power here to communicate, to share with the world, to connect with siblings and neighbours. And also, you know, Mars in the 4th house is being exactly trined by, or very closely trined by Jupiter in the 12th house. So, you know, there is this beautiful opportunity to clear away some old stuff and establish new dynamics in family or in the context of home, even taking action. Maybe you're moving house, maybe you're looking at new possibilities for where and how you want to live, or how you want to connect with the people that you love. And that is, that with Jupiter trining Mars, that's bringing a lot of good luck. So you want to really think about what you want to create in those areas. So communication, home, family, clearing away old patterns and old traumas is really beautifully starred, and coming to a new sense of love, compassion and forgiveness for yourself and for others, but really for yourself. Like finding a beautiful sense of self-attunement and self-love is looks like it's really well starred for you. Be careful of assumptions at work, in career, any beliefs that you have that might be holding you back, check the data, check the facts, chat about it with family members. That could be very, very helpful because they might have some insights that help to correct any faulty thinking in that area. But it looks beautiful for you as well, Pisces. Of course, there are challenges in the mix as well, but there is so much beautiful opportunity, and yeah, I am wishing you all, my beautiful friends, so much luck, so much abundance, healing, gorgeous energy, activated, energized, fabulous energy in this coming week and for the rest of the month, but I'll be back again before the month is over. I hope that some of these little celestial insights have been helpful. And yeah, plant seeds and send those proposals, ideas, begin your projects. 2 p.m. the 15th of April, Thursday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. of course, adjust to your time zone. But all day it's good. It's just that at 2 p.m. Leo is on the ascendant, and Leo on the ascendant puts, let's put it back on the ascendant here. When she's on the ascendant, Venus is moving into the 10th house. So really we can activate things in a big way that are going to be seen by the world. And the Sun and Mercury and Chiron are in the 9th house of God, which is absolutely beautiful. There's such a fiery, spiritual magnificence about that energy. And Saturn and Jupiter in the 7th house of relationships. So and Pluto is in the 6th house of health and work. So there's so much power in that day in particular to transform things, to set things in motion that are going to be super successful in our lives. So I hope you guys have fun thinking up what you're going to bring into the world, what you're going to bring into manifestation, what you want most, what you most want to succeed. And I am sending you all so much love and gratitude. Thanks for joining me here again, and I'll be back for the full moon update in a couple of weeks. That is a whopper. So much love to you all. Thanks again. Bye.